Yes, it's been a month since the Apple event happened, and I've been so busy talking about my new iPhone 16 Pro Max that, yes, I didn't really discuss much about the 17 lineup since that's been out for roughly almost a month now. They made a lot of changes to that, and yet I failed to deliver a whole video about this whole thing for you. So I am rectifying that today, describing my thoughts about the iPhone 17 lineup, and I guess the iPhone Air is something separate according to Apple. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about that. So without further ado, let's begin. So I'm going to start things off with the Apple Watch Series 11, is it we're on now? I don't care. I legit don't really care. I actually don't even know if they launched anything new for the Series 11, and as a result, I'm not sure how to be impressed. So I'm choosing not to be, and am just moving on to AirPods Pro 3, which, from the sounds of it, I'm going to need to get my hands on a pair of them because, unfortunately, unlucky me, I ended up replacing my AirPods Pro 2s, you know, these that I unboxed not exactly on launch day because I was actually out of town when these things arrived at my house, but yeah, I basically ordered these on launch day because I needed new earbuds at the time, and I even did the special treatment by engraving my stage name onto these AirPods Pro 2s, except unfortunately one of the buds died, and I mean like completely. I was not getting any sound out of it, and rather than just replacing the one bud, I decided, you know what, I wanted to get a brand new set of earbuds anyways, plus I really wanted USB-C. I wanted the USB-C case, and so a couple months ago I ended up buying these, which are AirPods Pro 2 with a USB-C port on the case. So yeah, that's bad timing on my part, obviously, because, well, AirPods Pro 3 are now things. But from the sounds of it, I'm not entirely sure if it was completely bad timing or not, because from what I'm hearing from a few audiophiles out there, they seem to have increased the bass sound signature, which I'm not entirely sure if that's a good thing, because for one, honestly, the sound signature on these AirPods Pro 2s, perfect. Flawless. I really have a hard time faulting him for any of it. And yet, Apple modified it. They changed it where they're now a little bassier than where they used to be. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to like them or not until I finally get them in my ears to test out. And I'm not entirely sure how quickly that's going to happen given the fact that I only buy earbuds every year or so just because I burn through them that quickly. So it probably won't be until next June when I'm probably going to need to replace these once again. And then I'll find AirPods 3s on sale, and then I'll have to test out the sound signature and that. But that's the one thing about it that makes me nervous. Supposedly they improved ANC and transparency modes, which they do that every year almost. And then of course they have to give it an Apple BS feature because, well, you don't have AI BS in any of your products. They're worthless these days, I guess. And yeah, I have no plans to attempt to make use of any of that in the near-term future, especially considering live translation supposedly is not available outside the US, which is like the number one time you want to use that. You know, when you're going to foreign countries that speak foreign languages, you'd think that'd be the number one time you want to use that, and Apple doesn't let you use it outside the US? Someone explain to me the logic and reasoning behind this? Oh wait, there is none. I digress. That's my thoughts on AirPods Pro 3. I really need to test them out to see if I like them or not because, again, sound signature on this pair, flawless. But they changed it. So, did they mess with perfection? I don't know. But I digress. We do need to move on to the iPhone lineup this year, and wow. We'll start off with the 17. It's perfect. Yes, the standard 17 at this point is perfect. Even for you refresh rate junkies out there that insist, oh, the phone is worthless if it don't have 120 Hz. It has to have 120 Hz. Without 120 Hz, this phone is worth nothing! It has 120 Hertz. Get over yourselves. It's not like it's the end of the world if it doesn't have it, but it does have it now. So for any of you who was complaining, you can finally shut up. Okay, 120 Hertz aside though, I mean, I really have a hard time faulting this phone, especially for its price tag at $800. And if I recall, didn't it get a storage bump? Oh yes, yes it did get a storage bump. And yet it's still $800, so awesome. And then I also have to admit the square sensor thing they did, wow, that is cool. For the selfie cam. The new selfie cam is pretty cool. Did a little test with my friend Tabby Pears as he's got one of the new 17 phones, and wow, that's impressive. Major upgrade to the selfie cam. I like to see it. And other than that, I really can't think of anything else to talk about with that phone other than I could complain that now the colors are muted again and it's boring and pathetic because, well, I don't understand why Apple insists that the phones have to lack color. But nonetheless, that's my thoughts on the 17. How about we work our way up the price ladder to this really, really weird but kind of cool iPhone. The iPhone Air. You know, that thin one that has been leaked and rumored throughout the entirety of 2025 and such. Yeah, the Air is a thing. So I went to my local Walmart to actually see what the iPhone Air looked like in person. They wouldn't let me pick it up and hold it because, well, it's Walmart. They gotta protect their investments. Yeah, I don't have an Apple store around me, so my options for trying out phones are a bit limited. But nonetheless, it's pretty cool. And if anything, I sort of got some iPhone 10 vibes with the phone. Because on one hand, I understand that it is a new take on a luxury phone where, okay, yeah, the thinness is a part of it. But I don't know, it's just, it felt like another attempt at redesigning the luxury phone, which was exactly what the iPhone 10 did. The iPhone 10 introduced the concept of a luxury top-tier smartphone with its $1,000 price tag. And the iPhone Air really does fit that description, especially considering what we're going to talk about with the iPhone Pros, because I have some disappointments with the Pro series. But I digress. In terms of the iPhone Air, I get that it's Apple's latest attempt at making a luxury first, Pro second phone, except honestly there's too many disappointments that I have with that phone to officially want to call it luxury, because even though, okay, sure, it's basically the only phone they came out with this year that actually still retains its titanium shell. Yes, the Pros don't even have titanium. We'll get more to that in a little bit. But the Air is the only one that is retaining its titanium form, plus its thinness. Okay, yeah, I get it. That those are some luxury aspects, I guess. But then there's the feature set that just doesn't really feel all that luxury. Yes, I get it. The single camera lens, it has come a long way compared to when single lensed iPhones were still a thing. Like with the iPhone 8s and the SEs and all the other previous single lensed iPhones. I get it. Image processing and the whole megapixel count, like camera sensors have come a long way from back then. But at the same time, I feel like it's lacking flexibility. Sure, you got the telephoto, you got the zoom and all that. What if you need to expand upon that? Like, if anything, in my personal humble opinion, if you're going to do a single camera setup, I'd personally start out with an ultra wide as like the hardware, so that way you can zoom in from there if you're going to do it with a single camera lens. And just not having that ultra wide, it kind of takes away from the luxury experience. And not only that, like, I can get past the single camera because I'd argue most people don't need it. I mean, for the longest time, my daily driver was a 10s Max. That didn't have an ultra wide. So if anything, the camera setup is not too dissimilar from it, minus the fact that it's one lens instead of two lenses, because now the zoom quality of the iPhone Air is so much better. But at the same time, I feel like these days, having an ultra wide is kind of necessary for the luxury experience when it comes to camera, and that's just straight up missing on iPhone Air, so I don't know what to tell you about that. But then the other thing, there's one other final detail that it bothers me to no end, and I did test this out when I went to Walmart. The single speaker. There is no stereo speaker setup on this phone at all. It is purely one speaker, the earpiece speaker. And while I will go as far as to say that it is by far the single best earpiece speaker I have ever heard, because I have heard phones in the past that only have had one earpiece speaker and that was it, and they all sounded like crap. They just sounded terrible. While the iPhone Air, doesn't have a speaker that sounds like crap. It does sound okay. No speaker on the bottom.
One day, a young man catches fire. This is Phoenix. You've been knocked down and got up again. Corner, you're surrounded, no defenders. You've hit your fury and kept it in. First I know you
Yeah, it doesn't sound as good. But at the same time, it just feels lacking. It just doesn't feel like a luxury experience. And that's just my ultimate problem I have with this phone. It's trying to go for a more luxury feel rather than being like a pro phone where it's trying to combine both luxury and utility at the same time. But the problem is they cut out way too much, all for the sake of thinness on this device, that it's now lacking some luxury aspects that I consider are necessary for a luxury high-end phone. And it's not necessarily just to make it pro, I just mean to make it worth the price tag. And yeah, single earpiece speaker, only one camera lens, it does feel lacking. That is my ultimate disappointment with the iPhone Air. My nose is still driving me nuts, goodness gracious. Now we need to move on to the 17 Pros, and thank goodness I made my bet and was correct on my bet back in August. See, every single year, Apple has found a way to disappoint me. Every single year with the iPhone lineups, they find some way to disappoint me. And they have not failed with the 17 Pros this year at all either. First up, okay, I understand, yes, because there are some people out there who are going to scream at me for this, because apparently, I guess aluminum is cool on high-end pro devices again. Okay. I understand, yes, aluminum does conduct heat better than both steel and titanium. I should know this because I am a CNC machinist. I literally work with this stuff every single day. So, yes, I know the aluminum is much better when it comes to dissipating heat. Why do you think heat sinks in computers are made out of aluminum if they're not made out of copper? But at the same time, for a pro phone, this is what doesn't make sense for me. You want to make an aluminum phone, you can have bits and pieces of it that are aluminum, but there is one thing that aluminum does not have that titanium especially, but also steel does have, and it's durability. And obviously, if you look at the internet, you will see a lot of people have been kind of scratching these phones, and unfortunately, it seems like it's a bit easy to do that. And so, on one hand, I'm not shocked that this is happening. I was not surprised at all. I'm like, it's an aluminum phone. Have we gotten so used to the stainless steels and the titaniums from our iPhone 10s and 10s's, 11s, and all the Pro series? Have we gotten so used to not having aluminum that now we're shocked about the same problem that aluminum has always had with the scratching? Really? We've forgotten that? I hadn't, but I mean, I can only speak for myself. So yeah, on one hand, I am not impressed with the durability of a pro phone, because if this pro phone is supposed to be designed more for the pro user, then it should feel pro. And while I do understand, yes, aluminum is superior at conducting heat compared to the other two metals that Apple's been using for the past how many years, at the same time, it is not a durable material. And when it's going into a phone that now starts at $1,100, yes, the Pro Series no longer starts at $1,000. You now have to pay $1,100 for this. The drop in durability is rather disappointing, especially if this is supposed to be a phone for pro environments. And in a pro environment, I would expect durability to be a key component to it, and aluminum is not it. Now, if you had, I don't know, steel side rails with the aluminum back plate thing that they've got going on with the camera bump, then you know what? Maybe I wouldn't complain as much, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the material change. This is even understanding that, yes, aluminum is going to help cool this thing down much better, which maybe we should get to that. For the first time ever, and this has been a problem for iPhones for a long time, Apple has finally decided we should probably pay attention to the cooling capabilities of this phone, because it's been lacking, for years. Sure, iPhones do have better performance than basically any Android smartphone that you can buy with Apple's custom silicon, but to keep on top of that, Apple has kind of been increasing the power draw available to the chip, which means it's going to get hotter, and as a result, these phones keep getting hotter and hotter, and they never address the cooling situation. Just like I need to address my nose again. Yeah, if you hadn't noticed, guys, I'm running a bit of a sinus infection, so you're gonna have to deal with me on that. But this year, Apple finally decided to actually properly address the cooling problems that these phones have had and added a vapor chamber, which I really hope that does actually improve the thermals. I'll have to ask my friends that are getting the 17 Pros. And so, yeah, that's what I have to primarily say about that. I mean, I guess every camera lens now has a 48 megapixel sensor, which is cool. For me, the biggest one is just the thermal chamber coming because iPhones have always had a cooling problem. So I'm glad that that's being addressed. Other than that, I'm not impressed. In fact, once again, I did not think Apple can make the back of the iPhone look any more hideous than they already have. And my goodness, they keep proving me wrong. They somehow find a way to make it worse. Ugh. You know, one of the biggest reasons why I daily drove the XS Max for so long was because literally it is the prettiest smartphone, best designed smartphone I have seen out there. And I have yet to find anything to top it. And yet somehow Apple just refuses. They refuse to go back in that direction. Why do you do this to me, Apple? Why? And that's pretty much all my thoughts on the 17 lineup. I don't know what else to talk about. They just continue to disappoint me every year. I am happy with my 16 Pro Max as is, even if it has a useless button on it that drives me nuts. Yeah, I do not regret my decision buying my 16 Pro Max in August. I really don't regret that decision. Without further ado, thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below. Also, do me a favor and check out my Patreon page. I would very much appreciate that. This is the Random Alpha Gadgets, signing out.